Thank you for joining us today. Good morning. My name is Alexis Serfati, the Vice President of the U.S. UAE Business Council here in Washington, and I just want to echo Raymond's thoughtful remarks and welcome everyone this morning and thank our friends at the Arab Gulf States Institute, and in particular Ambassador Wahba, for our partnership. I have the honor of introducing our featured guest, our featured speaker, His Excellency Majid Saif Al Ghurair, of the Chairman of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The Business Council has a long-standing relationship with the Chamber, as His Excellency knows, and we are honored to welcome them as an honorary Business Council member. And I think in that vein, this relationship is a testament to our members' commitment, and indeed everyone here, your commitment toward advancing what is already a robust trade and commercial relationship between the US and the UAE. Last year, and I know everyone knows, but it bears repeating, last year for the 8th year in a row, US exports to the UAE continue to exceed outgoing American products to other key trading partners in the broader region, including to Israel, to Turkey, even to India. Indeed, it's the UAE's business-friendly environment, and in particular, Dubai's diversified economy and state-of-the-art infrastructure that enables the success of niche sectors with special interest to the US, including logistics, tourism, aerospace, healthcare, services, all of which are beneficial to US companies looking to expand their business into untapped markets. So it is thus within this context that I have the honor this morning of introducing His Excellency Al Ghurair. In addition to serving as board of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the CEO and director of Al Ghurair Group of Companies, His Excellency has served as a director of NASDAQ Dubai Limited since June 2010, and as head of the National Cement Company since 1997, among many other leadership posts. Previously, he served as director of Emaar Properties, Damas International Limited, the Dubai Financial Market, and the National Bank of Ras Al Khaimah. In 2004, he was named the Business Leader of the Year in the United Arab Emirates. And with that, I'd like to welcome His Excellency to make some formal remarks. Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Dubai Chamber of Commerce, I would like to welcome you to this special event and thank you all for participating today. I would like also to thank the Arab Gulf State Institute in Washington for their generous invitation. Today I will not bother you with numbers, will not talk about the growth of Dubai and UAE. I will tell you, very small story, how Dubai became what it is today. I reached here in Washington, D.C. early morning yesterday. I was on Emirates Airline, Boeing 777. We reached here 8 in the morning. The hostess and the airlines come from different countries, the Filipino, Indians, Pakistani, Egyptian, and 6-7 other nationality. I've been served Evian water in the plane, and I will not talk about the passenger from where they are coming. So this is Dubai, a city, a hub, where many citizens from the region and beyond use Dubai as their place to live and work. The Emirates, since beginning, have worked to have an infrastructure, a world-class infrastructure, when it's come to its transportation, port, airport, and always we aimed not to compete with cities in the region. Always we looked, where the best practice been done around the world, and we adopted that practice and we added our flavor to that practice. Today, in the Arab world, there is plenty of challenges. as we know, I mean, a lot of countries in the Arab world facing a lot of political, social, economical problem. That's why Dubai took on its behalf that to become a city where a lot of young Arab youth can see a hope and a future. And that's why, I mean, in many surveys done in the region where young Arab and youth in the region being selected Dubai a place where they want to live and where they want to work. And why this, I mean, being accomplished in Dubai? Because really the government from the beginning always said whatever good for the business is good for the government. So His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President, Prime Minister and ruler of Dubai, have put businesses in his priority. So this government-private sector collaboration between the government and the private sector made Dubai what is today. So we as, I mean, Dubai Chamber of Commerce, the government used us as a sounding board. So whenever any legislation gonna come, which gonna affect the private sector, have to come first to the Chamber of Commerce, and Chamber of Commerce, I mean, consult with the business community. It depends in which sector that legislation gonna be affected, transportation, retail, investment, real estate, and then we'll take any comment we have back to the government, and I'll assure you that will be adopted by the government. And always His Highness instructed the government whenever something is not suitable for the business community, please, I mean, try to consult with them to adopt the best practice. And, you know, this has also happened because, as you know, and maybe some of you who visited Dubai, that the executive office of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid doesn't sit in a government building. It's in Emirates Tower, in the center of the financial district of Dubai. So whenever you are in that place, you may see him having a coffee or sitting around with his friend. So he is in touch with what's happening on the ground. He doesn't sit in a government office far away from the business community. And I think that's why the business community in UAE lucky to have a leadership who's really concentrating that to be the business in Dubai to thrive. But we know there is plenty of challenges and things change around us. And always we want to be a leader in any practices. So that's why, I mean, to diversify our economy, the government adopted the innovation as a plan for Dubai. I mean, if you look at the plan of the business plan for 2021, UAE government want to they launched many initiatives like the smart city, where they want to enable all government department to adopt all innovative solutions. Where last week, you know, I mean, His Highness asked a lot of government department that if all the transaction should happen without any human interference. So now, I mean, we have a lot of government department in the UAE where you can go, I mean, finish your processes, issue any documentation you want without interference with any human into it. So, I mean, part of also our diversification, we want to reach out other region around us. So we, as in Dubai Chamber of Commerce, under the instruction of His Highness, also we expanded and we opened offices around the world. And one of the areas His Highness focused on many years back is Africa. And we think Africa, one of the continent, will be the most growing economy in the world. So doing that, I mean, there is no practice around the world where, where Chamber of Commerce opened international offices. But we, in Dubai Chamber of Commerce, we adapted that strategy and we start opening offices in Africa. So now we have 4 offices in Africa. We are in Ghana, in Kenya, in Mozambique, and Addis Ababa. And this is also giving our company, or company who selected to use Dubai as a base and a hub for them, to penetrate that market. And also give the opportunity for African businesses and companies, I mean, to use Dubai as a hub. So we saw the trade, I mean, the last few years between UAE and Dubai especially, been growing in double digit. We know there is still little bit, I mean, many challenges in Africa, but we are working together to see how we can go over these challenges. And more than that, I mean, also another part of the world where, you know, for a long time, we are in the Middle East, we thought it will be difficult for us to reach that region, which is Latin America. So also, we took that as a challenge, and last year we, as a chamber, visited Latin America. We went to Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and we see there is a huge potential, especially, you know, as you know, the Middle East being a desert region, agriculture is very important, and food security is important for our region. So we're looking forward for that collaboration between the region, I mean, and UAE with this country to ensure food security for the region. And again, I mean, because also, I mean, Emirates Airline been doing a lot in that area, where connecting region, I mean, and been flying to many countries in Latin America, so we could see the businesses thriving in the region because of that. You know, all of this also happened because the UAE government have really looked for, I mean, for working on the human capital. So the government really put a lot of resources to focus on social issues, and especially the youth. So there is, I mean, a lot of entrepreneurship programs in the UAE. There is a lot of businesses where young Arab, and not only from the Arab country, I mean, we have even, you know, from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, also used Dubai as to start their businesses and to expand globally. Also, I mean, a few years back, when Dubai went for the bidding for the Expo 2020, His Highness wanted to see, I mean, is really Dubai capable of organizing event in that magnitude? And we went, I mean, against very famous cities around the world, and we was very proud that Dubai won the bid. Winning the bid, one thing, you know, and also organizing an event in that size. His Highness put a target that this Expo 2020 should be one to remember. So Expo 2020 also, it will be a huge opportunity for businesses in Dubai, in the region, to show their capability, to present themselves, to show the world how, I mean, businesses in the region can really expand. When come to, again, I mean, talking about social, you know, a few years ago, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed set up the country first gender balance council. The establishment of the council was a bold move on the part of the government to tackle real issues, support women empowerment. You know, since, I mean, the envisage of UAE, women always had a role in our society. As you know, I mean, in the Middle East, still we are a very small society. Usually men will have more than opportunity. I mean, some of them will go to the army, some of them will go to pursuing different career. So in the business community, we found educated women played a huge role in our advancement. And there is plenty of smart young lady who get enrolled in businesses, and really they did wonder. So this council, created by the government again to support women and see how we can also adopt certain policy where we can even help women to progress in their career. Moreover, the government, because what the region goes through now from a lot of challenges, recently the government established two ministries, the Happiness Ministry and Tolerance Ministry. And these, again, also to put some measurement, how we can measure, happiness in the organization, being government and private sectors. So now we see a lot of that being adopted in the private sector and the government, the happiness of the employment and how we can measure this happiness. And really, in the beginning, a lot of people have doubt that, how can we measure happiness? But slowly, gradually, people start to understand it, and I think more and more now, a lot of companies start adopting it. Going back to, we talked about innovation, since the government launched this initiative. Also, we are at the Chamber, have initiated something called Innovation Index in the business community, where company being awarded on a yearly basis for their new innovation idea. And I'd like to announce, last week, there is a Chamber Congress conference in Sydney, and Dubai Chamber of Commerce have won the award for unconventional project, which is the Innovation Index, and we win a prize for that. So, really the issue of empowering people, giving them the confidence, giving them the freedom to work. This is, always the government and His Highness Sheikh Mohammed worked on to have this confidence. So always he been, once he commented that, the government is to empower people, is not to hold power over them. So always he want to see young women and men thrive, enjoy living in Dubai, feel secure, safe, can enjoy their life with their families, and always we say business gonna follow. Moreover, also, whenever UAE have interest internationally and start relation, first of all, they focus on the human relation. They want to build an excellent relation with the neighboring country. We want to build excellent relation internationally, and always we focus that we need to create a good reputation about the country. So thank you very much of being here, and really I'm excited to be here and meet all of you. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome you personally to Washington, and very pleased to have the opportunity. I think it's your first speaking engagement in Washington. So on behalf of AGSIW and the U.S. UAE Business Council, we're really very pleased to have you here. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I just want to add to what Alex said about the reason we invited Majid Al Ghurair to be with us today. From the AGSIW USW perspective, our mission is to build bridges of understanding between the Gulf countries and the US, and we felt that meddling into the business world and hearing a little bit more about what Dubai stands for, given that it is the first choice for many Arab youth these days, not only Arab youth, by the way, I think many Western youth as well, is very important. We don't limit ourselves to political and economic issues. We want to make sure that people have a broader understanding of the Gulf region and what it is like today. I think many of the people in this room have been to Dubai, actually, either have lived there for a while or have had business opportunities. And so Dubai is, I think, probably the best known. When people ask me, when I say I served in the UAE, they say, oh, Dubai. I said, yes, Dubai, but also Abu Dhabi and Ras Al Khaimah and others. But Dubai certainly stands out for many of the things that you mentioned today. Very exciting place to live. I know that a lot of people in this room have on their mind the issue of the Qatar crisis in the Gulf. Especially if you're a businessman or businesswoman these days, there is concern on the impact of the Gulf crisis on the business and economic environment. Can you tell us your thoughts on that? You're in the region and are closer to it. Do you feel that it's having an impact on the business environment in the Gulf?
I brought one article, just came yesterday actually, about, and this is maybe, it's an article about the passenger through Dubai airports. August was the best month ever from passenger perspective, a growth of 6.6%, 8.2 million passengers, even exceeded January, exceeded July. That used to be the most, trafficked month. So this tells you, business as normal. Yes, there is definitely individual business being affected by the crisis, but we know in Dubai, we very fast adapt ourselves to whatever changes politically, socially happen in the region. We went through a lot of these crises many years back. As we remember, from the Iraqi-Iranian war to different crises, but always businesses in Dubai being adaptive to this and very fast they've been able to look where a new opportunity is.
Well, thank you. And let me follow up on that, Majid, if I may, because I think many businesses have asked me this question, and I wanted to hear from you what your thoughts are. Many American firms and other foreign firms obviously have invested and have interests throughout the Gulf. So they're in Dubai, they're in Abu Dhabi, they're in Saudi Arabia, and they're in Qatar. As this crisis gets longer and is not resolved anytime soon, none of us really see a light at the end of the tunnel right now. Do you feel that there will be any consequences for the businesses that work in Qatar and in any of the other countries such as the UAE and Saudi Arabia?
No, actually not at all. Since this crisis started, as you know, Dubai been used as what we call the storage for the region. A lot of goods comes to Dubai, and from Dubai go to other part in the region. We at the Chamber of Commerce, we issue a lot of these certification of origin for goods going to different country. And when this happened, we consulted the government. Shall we stop issuing any certificate of origin for a product going to Qatar? They said, no. You continue, the business is normal. Just the transporter have to find a way how they can take the goods to Qatar. So business is not affected. So definitely, there is a little bit of hassle to reach Qatar for foreigners, where they have to fly to different Gulf state to reach Qatar, but businesses in general not being affected, and there is no instruction from the government that companies work in Qatar and have offices in Dubai, or have in Dubai work in Qatar, have any kind of unease of doing business.
Thank you, that's reassuring. Let me turn to the Dubai success story for a minute, because all of us who've lived in the Gulf see that it's a great model, and a lot of other municipalities and countries try to duplicate this model. But it's not that easily, replicated, I think, because you have some unique features in Dubai. You have the geography, you have the visionary leadership, you have the economic power to take on a lot of new initiatives. If you were advising other municipalities looking to grow, looking to empower their younger people, what aspects of the Dubai success story do you think lend themselves to be duplicated in other places? If you had to pick one or two.
Always, sometimes government and government bodies, they think they know better than the people. And this is where they can go wrong. In Dubai, we don't have that. We are one ecosystem, the government and the business community. I will give you an example. Last year, Tesla opened a showroom in Dubai and UAE. Tesla models, if somebody, some of you worked in the Dubai and GCC, we have something called agency. You have to appoint a local as an agent for any product you want to sell into the country. But Tesla doesn't have this concept. They said, no, we cannot give this product to an agent. We're going to operate ourselves. So what the government did, give them a license to operate on their own. They didn't say, the law doesn't allow you, please try to go somewhere else to sell your car. So now they are on ground, they opened showroom, they started their businesses, and yesterday, the Road and Transportation Authority is passing some legislation that for the next 5 years will be recharging those cars will be free from the government. Some of the taxi will be encouraged to use Tesla as a taxis in Dubai. So, immediately the government adopted the new rule and regulation to allow a company like Tesla and work. And this is happening on a daily basis, not only because the name of Tesla came to Dubai and we want that. So it's really happening every day. Whenever business facing some challenges, they will have somebody from the government hear them and change things for them. Because if one day this problem reached His Highness and it been solved, some of these government body will disappear, or people responsible of it.
And in many places, that would be a good thing. Well, you brought up Tesla, and I think earlier this week we saw the first test of the flying taxis or the drone. So lots of very innovative things on the transportation side. And I know it's part of the, making Dubai a smart city. But is there a need? Is there like a population transportation need behind these initiatives? Or is it really more focused on bringing in this new innovative technology and having a base for it in Dubai? What's the motivation?
The motivation is we want to always be seen in Dubai that we be able to adopt any technology in the world. We are not scared to see, all this technology be adopted. For example, I know in the US they've been talking about the Hyperloop, where, you can transport passenger, again, from New York to Los Angeles in I don't know how many minutes. So again, Dubai start thinking of it, this initiative between the Port Authority, because Port Authority think if they can transport, now not use it for human transportation, but at least cargo. If we can use this, then we're gonna achieve a lot. So all these ideas, even some of the ideas where earlier we thought it's not possible to be implemented, today is we can see them being implemented. So always the government see whatever new ideas are around the world, we can bring them in, try to see how we can adopt them. Maybe we cannot reach that level, but somewhere between that, something going to be developed in between and can be used. Something like self-driving cars or taxis, for example.
Well, you also mentioned youth and the Dubai goal really to provide them with, whether they come from Pakistan or India or Egypt or Lebanon, that they can actually come to Dubai and start up their business. And this is huge, really huge for young people in the Middle East and in South Asia who live in much more complicated environments where starting a business is usually impossible when you're in your 20s or even in your 30s. So I think this is, for me, one of the things that make Dubai very, very special. You've harnessed that energy of young people. And I noticed that in His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, in his capacity as Vice President and Prime Minister, at the federal level, he's made a really huge effort to bring in young Emiratis to serve, like your Minister of Youth, Shamma, who's in her, I think, in her mid-20s. I think a lot of people were skeptical about that it was just a PR, you know. And when you meet Shamma, your opinion is changed. But was it difficult to bring that into the culture of the UAE, which is still a conservative culture, that you have a young woman of that age taking on such a huge responsibility? What's the impact been for not only Shamma, but also for establishing the Ministry of Happiness, for example, which again was quite radical?
You know, in the beginning, everybody had the same thought. But slowly, when the idea sinked in, and when a lot of programs being started to come out from these ministries, then people start realizing, well, you know, it's not a bad idea. Now, I mean, the platform is open. Anybody can bring a suggestion, I mean, to any of these ministers, how they can do whatever they're doing, for example, better. For example, I mean, we've been visited by Her Excellency, the Minister of Happiness, and she started working with us, okay, how also like you created an index for innovation, I'd like to, with you, to establish an index for happiness. Now we are working together. We don't know where we're gonna get, but we're gonna get somewhere where really we can create some kind of index, and we see we're gonna adopt it, we're gonna adjust it. It's not like one fixed rule and regulation. Always we try to adopt what's good, and if there is a wrong practice in that, also we'll drop it. When it's come to Shamma, I mean, as you said, clearly, okay, I mean, very young, bright girls gonna take a ministry and gonna handle youth. I mean, in many countries, it was, you know, you can bring the most senior, whoever could not solve the youth challenges. But again, I mean, it was a brilliant idea. A lot of young people saw, wow, it's an opportunity. I mean, for us, we can be a minister too in the future. Why not? So, I mean, it's opened a lot of ideas. It's stimulated the young population generation in the region. Bringing to that, you know, before what happened in Syria, you know, we had a big delegation from Syria coming, and they said, you know, as within here, we want to share with you Dubai experience, how we can really thrive our situation in Syria. So, you know, as you know, by nature, Syrian is very good, smart businessman. And most of trade and business in UAE being run by Syrian. Most of our company, even, you know, we have an employee coming from Egypt or from Syria. So they asked me to speak at this panel. And I told them, I'm surprised you are coming here and you want to learn from our experience. When, if you look around you here, I saw a young Syrian who come as a small worker at one of these shops. And in no times, he started owning his own shop. He started running his own business. So how come this young Syrian can do that in Dubai and UAE, and he can do it in Syria? So you better go back, look at your system. There's nothing for you to learn from us, because you're people who made this country and other people coming from the region. It's not only the UAE national who made this country.
A very good point. I agree with you. Having lived in the UAE, I was always very impressed and surprised when you see young people from surrounding countries doing much better in Dubai or in Abu Dhabi even than they did in their own countries. Let me turn to some of the questions we're receiving from the audience. And the first one I'd like to ask you, Majid, is the question is, could you talk about, I'm sorry, I lost it. Hang on a second, because it's kind of segues from what our last. Yes, what should business seeking to enter the Dubai market expect in new regulatory reforms, such as VAT, tax, bankruptcy law, or reduced subsidies?
Well, I think all this, I mean, gonna really support the businesses. I mean, you know, that again, you know, and a practice being very long, being used in other country. Recently in Gulf states actually together decided to introduce VAT in the region. A lot of businesses in UAE, especially retailer, they are thinking that this VAT can affect their business, the business gonna slow down. I didn't think so. I mean, a 5% gonna have that effect in business. Actually, in the contrary. I mean, VAT really gonna create for the government a huge database, and from there they can do a better planning for the economy. Now, the information is very scattered in different departments in UAE. So now, because of the VAT, there will be one registrar where all the business will be registered. All the sales gonna come through that organization. So now the government will have more visuals about businesses and how they are doing, and better will be planned. And from our experience, I mean, whenever government in the UAE generate extra income from anywhere, that income again will be invested in the economy. So be sure, I mean, the economy gonna really thrive when the government will have more resources. They're gonna improve in the infrastructure. They're gonna have a new legislation. Again, I mean, by one way or another, the government could decide that, you know, this 5 or 3% can add to the custom duty, and they collect it from there. But they thought it's better to introduce an international known regime being recognized internationally by IMF and other international organizations, and this is also will bring the country on the level with others.
Thank you. We have a question on the eventual reconstruction of Iraq and Syria that inevitably will take place. What opportunities do you see for companies working through Dubai and the Chamber of Commerce to perform this work?
Well, I mean, I didn't hope that, you know, what happened in Syria happens, so company have opportunity to go to Syria and use that. But, you know, unfortunately, what happened. And I think, I mean, hopefully peace is gonna come soon to that region, and hopefully company from the region can participate to bring prosperity to that region. So, I mean, definitely, I mean, you know, company can benefit, but it's very important for us. I mean, the social prosperity of these countries, it's very important for us. I mean, country with a history like Syria or Iraq to be what they used to be. I mean, we used to learn from them. We used to go study at their universities, and now happen what happened. So we'd like those countries to go back as what they are used to be.
Thank you. And now, no surprise, a question from our colleague Afshin Malawi on China. He asks, it surpassed India as Dubai's leading trade partner last year. So could you speak a little bit about the evolving Dubai-China relationship and what we can see next?
Well, I mean, again, I mean, China is a huge economy. I mean, Dubai, I mean, through history, been work with Chinese businesses. Recently, last year, Dubai allowed Chinese to enter without a visa. I mean, visa being given in the airport, and we saw the number of Chinese just, you know, go Last year we had like 500,000 visitors from China, and this year we expect like to go over 1 million of a Chinese visiting Dubai. Definitely Chinese been using Dubai as a hub for their companies. As you know, we have plenty of businesses coming from China. They'd like to penetrate, I mean, different market from UAE. They're going to Africa, CIS country. And we're seeing a lot of delegation coming from different provinces, you know, because China is, yes, one country, but each provinces have their own government and they're trying to promote their provinces, their product. So we are very much involved with them. As you said, I mean, business is growing tremendously with China.
Of the 1 million Chinese that you expect this year, are a lot of those just tourism?
Actually, it's a mix. I mean, between tourism, businesses, as you know, I mean, retail being really, they've been coming as also, you know, during their New Year, their festives, we see a lot of Chinese come to Dubai to spend their vacation. So it's across all sectors, I mean.
Okay, I have a very good question on infrastructure. And Dubai has been so successful as a Nexus city that it has some growing pains in traffic, housing, commuting issues, environmental issues that come with building in the desert. What are the lessons learned and what are some of the solutions that Dubai has come up with to deal with these challenges?
Maybe I don't have an answer, I mean, exactly, because I'm not expert in that field, but the government actually working very hard that to ease, if you talk about, I mean, we talk about traffic. Although sometimes, you know, the government thought we need to reduce the car user, encourage more public transportation. That's why Dubai built the metro. They are expanding the line. They're trying to reach a new area, putting more regulation into, I mean, for some time, I mean, even they want put more harsh regulation onto driving into the city. But I think His Highness rejected that, and he said, no, people have to live, I mean, they use the mean transportation they want. You cannot force them. You provide the solution for them. You try to improve that solution, and let it be the people's choice to use whatever kind of transportation they want to use. We are working hard on it. We know it's challenging, and we know we cannot just let the number grow from year to year. And we're going to have challenges, but we need to face these challenges.
Okay, one more question on, this is kind of an interesting question. We hear a lot about Dubai's relationship on a global level, you know, with China, with Africa. So this question is, can you tell us a little bit about the relationship between Dubai and the other Emirates? What level of cooperation do you have within the UAE with other Emirates?
Actually, we don't look at the other Emirates like other Emirates. We look at the whole UAE. I mean, there is nothing kind of a relation between Emirates. It's you know, it's one family. It's just how UAE politically been set up from the beginning, and now we don't see any kind of, you know, differentiation between Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah. Actually, we benefit from each other. I mean, there is a lot of middle class, I mean, in Dubai, I mean, who live in Sharjah and Ajman because they can, there is a more affordable housing at those Emirates. So always we said, you know, I mean, we say Dubai at night will be like 1.5 million of a population. In the morning, there will be 3 to 4 million come and work in Dubai and go back to other Emirate. Even, you know, there is practice people as, I mean, work in Dubai, live in Abu Dhabi, or live in Abu Dhabi, work in Dubai, and vice versa. So it's Dubai becoming like a hub for everybody. And I mean, we have this joke, I mean, it said, you know, you have to leave one weekend for in Dubai for people who live in Dubai. People shouldn't come from the other Emirates, it's going to get very crowded. But, you know, we joke about it, but, you know, at the weekend, you know, I mean, this statistic was interesting. Like somebody from Central Bank was telling me that, you know, cash being every week being distributed to other Emirates and end of the week collected from Dubai.
Well, I think Dubai has certainly also provided so much employment, and you've added housing income to the other Emirates, as you said, because the flow, it's so obvious when you live in Dubai and you see the traffic coming in from Sharjah or from Ras Al Khaimah into Dubai.
You know, I'd like to add one more thing. You know, always I said, I mean, in business community, I mean, their highnesses are doing a fantastic job in promoting the country that even it's difficult for business to do it. The last visit of, this is like almost 2 years back, President of Mexico, who visited, been invited to Abu Dhabi for the Energy Summit, I think. And after his official visit in Abu Dhabi, he came to Dubai to meet business people and to see His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid. And I asked him, how was the visit in Abu Dhabi? He said, I could not believe it. It was so good. I said, why? I mean, what happened? He said, you know, after we finished all the protocol, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince, took me in his own car, and he took me to a coffee shop. And we sat one-to-one in the coffee shop. So all my ministers could see what close relation I have with the UAE. So now I'm really want to do something with the UAE. I need to encourage the business more with the UAE. And I'm looking for DP World to come and work and operate some of the port in Mexico. I want Emirates Airline to come and fly to Mexico. And I think if I accomplish this from my visit, then the economy between the two countries can grow. So Their Highness is also doing a fantastic job. The other thing, I mean, you know, in the aviation, something called the fifth right, where other airline can fly to different destination from other country. So Emirates, some time back, started flying Milan, New York. And it was very successful because I think Malpensa Airport was neglected by other airlines. So City of Milan came to the Emirates and said, look, we have this right, nobody want to use it. How about you guys try to fly to New York? And the European Commission will not object it because nobody won't use this right. So Emirates said, fine, I mean, let's try to operate Milan, New York, and became very successful route. Now, other countries, I mean, in Europe, coming to Emirates to establish an airline directly flying from these, one of them is Athens. We've been visited by their tourism minister, and she was offering this right 2 years back to Emirates. And she said, and one of the meeting with His Highness said, you know, I don't know why you're flying Milan, New York. There is more Greek in New York than Italian. So Emirates last year started that route. So also, I mean, we really, I mean, the government helps the business community a lot, and they do whatever possible to encourage business community to grow.
I have a good question about philanthropy, and given the strong private sector in Dubai and the wealth of the private sector in Dubai, do you feel that they participate in providing support for either within the UAE or outside of the UAE in terms of philanthropic efforts? I know you have Dubai Care, for example, but I don't know if that's predominantly private sector or government.
The giving actually it's in our culture and in our religion, and a lot of these companies and local companies, when they do this kind of thing, maybe most of the time they don't announce it, but definitely, I mean, many companies in the UAE participated and they encourage it, and it's part of their, I mean, how can I say, it's DNA of these companies.
One last question from the audience, and then I have one last question. What innovations in education is Dubai encouraging, or is it more on the federal level?
No, I mean, whatever adopted in the federal levels cascade down to the emirate level. I mean, the government always have initiatives. His Highness always, he launched a few years back this, the reading challenges, where how much book you read, and it's really, it was around the Arab. I mean, it was a challenge for all the Arab world, even for schooling. And I think last year a school from Palestine territory have won this prize. And always, I mean, Dubai always encouraged also international schooling to come and establish themselves in Dubai. So we have a lot of, American, British, you name it, international well-named school established themselves in Dubai. So the government always encouraging education at all levels.
Yeah, I know for a fact that the American school in Dubai is one of the oldest and one of the best in the region. Actually, it helped us recruit a lot of diplomats to serve in Dubai because they like the school. Here's a great question that's just come in. What Saudi city do you see as a close potential to Dubai to have a similar experience as Dubai? And how realistic are in your view, are there reforms under Vision 2030? That's a very big question. But the first one is, what city in Saudi Arabia do you think has the potential to become a Dubai for Saudi Arabia, given their reform agenda?
Well, I mean, I think always people looked at Jeddah being, presenting Dubai because it's next to the sea, I mean, the Red Sea. Also, the cosmopolitan and people coming from different parts of the Arab world, like to live in Jeddah. I mean, interesting. Saudi become the subject. As you know, Saudi is our biggest trade partners. And always, we looked at the Saudi economy as an important for us. Whenever Saudi grow, our also economy grow. It's a huge economy. Also, Saudi company is very important for Dubai businesses. There is plenty of Saudi company who established their offices in Dubai. There is a lot of Saudi's business family who established their family business office in Dubai. So there is plenty is going on between Saudi Arabia and UAE. We always looked also, for initiative from Saudi Arabia to lead the changes happening in the Arab world. With the new, young leadership now in Saudi Arabia, we are really encouraged and we're looking forward for really it will be, if things goes right with the help, internationally, with the others, and stability come to the region, I think the region gonna have a huge potential for growth in the future.
Thank you. A question on Africa, because you brought it up in your speech. What is the plan from the Dubai Chamber or just more broadly from the UAE for further growth in Africa? And what are your expectations in terms of a commercial economic relationship with Africa?
Yeah, always Africa have a special relation, with the region. Even go back in the history. As you know, Oman used to rule part of East Africa. There is a lot of family relation with East Africa. A lot of trade happened during that times, with East Africa. Being a region in proximity close to us, have a fantastic potential of human capital. Just need, more educational, and since we've been opening that market, and since Emirates now, they fly almost to 20 destinations in Africa. We've been seeing a young African coming to UAE. We can more and more see them visible in the business community. So Dubai is opening up, providing opportunity for young Africans to come and work in the region, and from the region they go beyond. A small example, I will tell you, for example, long time we have fantastic relation with Somalia, for example. Somalia used to do a great business with the UAE, and they have huge resources when it's come to fishery, for example. So there is plenty of businesses we can benefit from each other. Recently, some of the investment from UAE went to, for example, Rwanda, where they want to build some, exotic resort in Rwanda. So there is huge potential, I think. There is some challenges. There is certain rule and regulation in these countries. Also, these countries, if you take Angola a few years back, when the oil price was at the 100, the country was becoming even very expensive for foreigners to live in Angola at that time, because it was huge demand. Suddenly, many companies went there, but because the economy wasn't really ready for, diversified, now they are facing a lot of crisis. So what we are telling, Africa and African companies, please, take things step by step. You don't need maybe to make a big change suddenly to become a world-class, what you call, country, but together, using Dubai as a hub, we can really get a lot of product now from Africa comes to UAE, and from UAE to go to other countries. If we take only coffee, now the African, for example, they don't add value to the coffee crop. They take it as raw and sell it internationally. Even it goes to warehousing in Hamburg, because Hamburg, we know they're big warehousing of coffee. Then it's go to the roastery. Then there, where is the margin being made? So if somebody can really help them to manufacture some of that crops, I know we cannot do, 100%, but at least even if 10% of that crop, somebody went and added value to it and start selling it to multinational, I think this is an area where their economy can grow and thrive. If you take country like, the first relation we started with Ethiopia, with Addis Ababa. It's a fantastic country, climate-wise, year-round, around 2023. Very safe country, very nice people, and they have challenges. Now the country focused to finish this, big project, this dam. So a lot of their foreign reserves went to that dam. So even if businesses will go there, they will have a difficulty to get foreign currency if they want to really buy goods from outside. But I think slowly, gradually, by getting yourself into their business, understanding the ecosystem over there, understanding the environment, I think there is plenty of opportunity available in Africa, and slowly, gradually, we are seeing. Whenever, we do business with any country, we are not looking into a short term. Really, UAE always look for a long-term relation, and I think if you look at a long-term relation, you're going to really benefit out of this relation.
Thank you. I have one last question. To go back a moment to Dubai being a nexus city and really a global gateway between East and West, I think it's fair to say that the cultural change in Dubai over the last many decades is huge. I've walked around, if you get out of your car in Dubai and walk around some neighborhoods, you could be in Mumbai, you could be, it's really a melting pot of so many nationalities and so many cultures and so many cuisines of food. What impact over the long term has that had on the Emirati population? They must have gone through a period of adapting to this. I mean, we're seeing it in our country here, which is a huge country, and we're seeing some tension between when the culture changes, when the environment changes. How has that been for Emiratis in Dubai? This is something very few people talk about, and I wanted to throw it at you as the last question.
You know, I mean, we don't feel it because everybody come to Dubai or UAE have a different kind of intention, of agenda. They want just to create a good living for themselves. They want to be melt between the different nationality. So if you are working in Dubai, even at your workplace, the desk next to you will be anybody from any part of the world. Could be European, could be Filipino, could be an Indian. So yes, there is certain community where they get together when they go outside certain environment. For example, there is certain Filipino who would like to live at this neighborhood. So slowly, gradually, you will find this neighborhood became like a Filipino place. An Indian will take certain corner of the city. But nothing wrong with that, because the intention of the people, end of the day, that they want to do a good living for themselves, for their family, even if their family with them in Dubai or their family abroad. And it became very, I mean, as you said, melting pot in Dubai. I mean, people really don't, sometimes some local, little bit you can, especially young one, they will feel irritated if they feel, oh, okay, this is businesses being controlled by someone from different nationality. But slowly, gradually, they will say, I mean, it will sink in their mind, if they work as hard as these people is working, you can achieve it. Because some of these people, they are really worked hard. And they came, I mean, a small laborer in certain company and spent, I mean, most of their life working hard to get where they get today. There's nothing, I mean, nothing being given to this community. Actually, in the contrary, are we telling our young people, I mean, you've been supported with your government, you've been provided a job, you've been provided health, education, everything, care. So why you are not being able to come, which these people been achieving, also on becoming challenging for them. But definitely, you know, even ourselves, sometimes we don't believe how we are in very few years became what we became today. Because it's, if you take a young guy in his 20s, he will think, you know, this is a normal life. I mean, you don't have to work hard, everything available. And the government have, you know, to provide for you. You don't need to work hard. Sometimes this kind of thinking, wrong thinking, sinks in this young generation. But slowly, gradually been realizing, I mean, they have to work hard. And also, the other thing also what's made Dubai what's today is also the government never, I mean, discouraged any kind of nationality of doing any businesses, and they didn't differentiate between different nationality. Everybody the same, they have the same opportunity. If you are a Lebanese, if you are a Syrian, if you are Indian, or if you are European, you will have the same opportunity. What I mean, your capability, will be the difference you can really put in the table end of the day. But the opportunity is there.
Great, thank you. Well, Your Excellency, Majid Saif Al Ghurair, thank you for being with us today and for taking the time to have this conversation. Thank you all for attending, and we look forward to future events. Thank you.